Elizabeth Huber, and I am on the board of directors. Thank you. We had this past week and this past weekend, we had our annual yard sale, which was amazing. I can't even thank you enough for all of the things, the people who showed up to bring stuff, the people who showed up who were here. I'm going to recognize just a couple of people. I would like to recognize everyone, but I'm afraid I'm going to miss somebody. And so, but there are a few people who are here every single day, all week long. They stayed, and Wendy Fredrickson, if you'll stand up, please. Susan, I don't see Susan. Susan Dempsey was here every single day. Stella, where are you? Stella was here every single day. Let's see. Lisa Landrigan, of course, was invaluable. I know if you came to volunteer this past week, please stand up. Artists, I know you were here a lot. Linda Hilton was here. If you had seen what this place looked like before we started, it was unbelievable, the amount of work that went into this. Thank you if you came, if you brought things to donate for the sale. An incredible crew that came yesterday afternoon to put this place back together and get everything packed up. It was absolutely amazing. If you donated food for the workers, we had some great food, or if you donated money, we so appreciate all of the work you've done. We don't have a total yet on how much we made, but it was an incredible, fun, exciting, exhausting week. And we are so grateful for everyone who participated in it. So, thank you.
Good morning to all of you who are sitting here in the sanctuary and to those at home who are joining us through live streaming. If anyone is present or viewing for the first time, we welcome you and hope that you will join us again. After the service, our Ambassador Mary, who was just here, will be back with an informational packet and a mug in the back of the room here. Please check in on Facebook, telling your friends and family you're here at Unity of Springfield. And then, if you would silence or turn off your phone. Today's flowers are provided by Michelle Johnson in celebration of her birthday. Happy birthday, Michelle. Please join me in the mission statement. The mission statement is on the screen. Together, our mission is to encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. Let's speak together the affirmation for today's daily word. Inner peace is my constant source of serenity. Both fruit and flower take form as the inner pattern unfolds from within the seed. Apple seeds produce apples. Rose seeds produce roses, and so it goes. And so it is with me. I live in a peace-filled life when I let inner peace unfold through my thoughts, words, and actions. Patience and understanding are natural outgrowths of the inner peace with which God nourishes me. Peace grows and ripens into a tranquil, loving attitude that is reflected in everything that I do. Even in the midst of turmoil, I draw on inner peace for serenity. Giving attention to my outer appearance is important, but letting the peace of God unfold from within me will bring about the greatest improvement in the way I look, feel, and act. The scripture for today is Philippians 4:8. Together, Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So let's repeat the affirmation together. Inner peace is my constant source of serenity. As Sue rings the prayer bowl, please hold the following people in your prayerful thoughts for their highest and best: Mary, Raymond, Ashley, Al, Nancy, Helen, Lee, Gracie, Pam, John, Chris, Greg, Jean, Diane, Mike, Deanna, Erica, Debbie, Tasha, Kate, Aaron, Julie, Sharon, Rusty, Patty, and anyone that comes to your mind. As the sounds and vibrations from the prayer bowl fill the sanctuary and flow out to our friends on live stream, take a deep breath. Hold. Release. Recognize the one power and presence in the universe and in our lives, living in us, as us, through us. Our very life is a gift from Spirit. As we begin to relax, making it easier to move into prayer and meditation, focus on the crown of your head, relaxing as you move down to your forehead, your eyes, ears, lips, your tongue, and your jaw. Roll your neck and shoulders to release tension, stiffness. Follow the relaxation as it moves down your arms, elbows, wrists, hands and fingers. Feel and see the relaxation taking place in your body as you move down your spine, your lower back. Relax your calves, your thighs, your knees, your ankles, your feet and toes. Take a deep breath. Hold. Exhale. We pray for all who have been placed on the prayer list by their loved ones. We also include ourselves, our families, friends, and neighbors. For all, we affirm bodies immersed in good health, finances to cover not only needs, but also dreams and desires, loving relationships with family and friends, the guidance we seek, peace of mind, spiritual transformation. We surround not only our spiritual community, but also our city, our state, our nation, all nations, with prayers for fairness, respect for all, happiness, joy, abundance, inclusivity. We visualize peace among all in our country, in all countries, all governments. I invite our congregants here in the sanctuary and those viewing from their homes to realize and accept that each of us is worthy of all the good we desire. We are loved by God, just the way we are. We're so blessed by God's gifts to us of life, love, and connection. With infinite gratitude, we share our loving, accepting, and welcoming energy within this spiritual community to the whole world and everyone in it. Now, as we move into the silence, I invite you to quiet your mind as we share this time apart in the silence.
First thing. That was beautiful, you guys. Thank you. Good morning. It's good to see everybody here this morning. I want to say a special welcome to Doug and Pamela Brenneman. They moved away 8 years ago. They had to move to Florida. I know. But we're so grateful that you're here today. This is their home church, Home Unity Church, and Pamela was our board president for a period of time and also did music with our kiddos, and she's doing that now at the Unity Church down there, so glad to have you with us, yeah. Wanted to let you guys know, too, that Al, who is usually sitting up here, actually has pneumonia, and he's in the hospital. He's in Cox South, so please send some loving energy his way as well. Okay, clicker, okay. So today we are starting a 7-week series based on the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And this series is actually called Awakening to Spiritual Power. I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and it just is so interesting to me how I can go back through something that I've done before, because we did this series in 2017, and be reminded of, oh, well, look at this, and you'll understand as we go through today's lesson on the interesting concept of the inner roommate. So this is a whole church series. The cool thing is that our kids are doing this series with us, so all the ages. So if you have kids in Sunday school, you'll be able to talk to them about it. And even if you did do this series 6 years ago, I encourage you that if you've not signed up for a spirit group to do so, and John's going to tell us more about that in a few minutes. Okay, so living as an untethered soul. So the word tethered means to be bound or to be attached. So to live untethered, the opposite of being bound or attached, is free, right? Living as a free soul. Doesn't that sound good? And I go to what our statement is of, being authentically all that we came here to be, is about freeing ourselves up to be that without all of this other stuff that we've taken on throughout all of our lives that has been covering up this brilliant expression that we are here to be. And we've been working on that, haven't we? We have. And we're going to continue to work on that, aren't we, for the rest of our lives? Yes, we are. But it's exciting and it's fun that we get to do this. And it's not always exciting and fun. I just have to say that. Sometimes you kind of have to trudge through some of this stuff to get rid of the muck, but it's so worth it. So what might it mean to be an untethered soul? So it would be becoming free from limitations. Does anybody have limiting ideas and beliefs? How about soaring beyond our boundaries? Do we have any self-imposed boundaries on what we think we can do, be, or have? Soaring beyond the boundaries. Finding inner peace and freedom. Holy schmoly. Anybody ever have an issue with inner peace and freedom? I just love that, peace, light, love, peace, light, love in me. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, and sometimes you're like, peace, light, love in me. And learning to navigate our thoughts and emotions. Wait, what? We can actually learn to navigate our thoughts and emotions and not let them control us? What? Yes. So, and one of the things I love about this series, it was actually the series itself was written by a Unity minister, a Reverend Diane Benzera. And in the series, each week there's going to be one of our basic Unity principles and one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, I don't think he discovered them, but he expanded on them. So our 5 guiding principles are: God is, I am, I ask, I pray, and I act. Today, we're going to be, the principle that we're going to be focused on is number 3, and it is the I ask. I'm going to tell you about the power in a minute. So the I ask is, I create my experiences by what I choose to think and what I feel and believe. So it's not just about what our thoughts are, but it's about what we're really believing, what's really behind, the energy behind our thoughts. Charles Fillmore says, to man is given the highest power in the universe, the conscious power of thought. So I'll stop here for just a minute, because this is a huge gift that we have. Is the power of our thinking minds. And you know what? We were created to have dominion over our thoughts. And I know I say this a lot, and sometimes I need to say it to myself, so I remind myself, hello, You were created to have dominion over your thoughts. Charles goes on to say, there is a universal creative force that urges man forward to the recognition of the creative power of his individual thought. This thought is elemental, and all its attributes come under the dominion of man. When he cooperates with principle, man sits on the throne of his authority, and the elemental force is subject to him. That's a big, ginormous thing to say. But it really is talking about this idea of this incredible power that we have within us through focusing our thinking mind in a particular direction, because the more we focus it in a direction, the more we start to feel it, right? The more we start to become it. We know this because we've been using it. He goes on to say that thinking is the formulating process of the mind. The thinking faculty is the inlet and outlet of all your ideas. It is active, zealous, impulsive, but not always wise. Its nature is to think and think it will. It is through this one power you establish your consciousness and you build your world. So it's huge. Now, the power that goes with this week is the power of power. And the power of power is actually found in the throat area. It's the power of what we can bring forth through that spoken word, or even through, the spoken. Anybody speak in their heads? Okay, we're going to talk more about this today. Okay, so power is our ability to have mastery of divine ideas. So let's go there first. Our ability to have mastery of divine ideas. In other words, those divine ideas are going to be forefront in our consciousness because we're doing the work that we need to do to keep them forefront in our consciousness. And then the power is also our ability to use the power of our thoughts and words to bring then these divine ideas into being. There's incredible power with the power of power, right? There is. Okay, so William Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." And Michael Singer asked the question, to which self are we to be true? Because do we know we have multiple selves inside of ourselves? Do we? Yes, okay. We do. In his book, Living the Untethered Life, which is another one of his books, he takes us on a journey to see that the self inside of us, the self with the capital S, is always the same. So one of the little analogies that he uses is that when you were 10 years old and you looked in the mirror, that self that you were seeing your 10-year-old self as is the same self that would look in the mirror today and see you as your today old self. Now, the body is different, and your life is quite different, but that self is the same self that was always there. And that's what we really want to start getting clear on, is that self with the capital S. And I'm not going to just say the self with the smallest, but the many selves that we have with the small s. And he calls this our seat of awareness, or you could even call it the observer, becoming the observer. And we want to live more from that place of the seat of the awareness, and more from that observer than we want to live from what I'm going to talk about here in a couple of minutes. Because guess what? We have a mental dialogue going on in our heads all of the time, and it never stops. It just keeps going and going. I'm going to say right now, many of you have other thoughts going on in your head than what I'm saying. Well, of course, you'd have to say no. Like, oh, hey, where am I going to go after church today? Or, yeah. Have you ever wondered why it talks in there? He asks, how does it decide what to say and when to say it? How much of what it says turns out to be true? And how much of what it says is even important? That's like a big one too. How much is it is even important? And if you're thinking right now, what is she talking about? I don't have a voice in my head. That's the voice we're talking about. You do have a voice in your head. And how about anybody, does that voice activated when you're driving? How about when you wake up in the middle of the night? Yeah, we all know that voice. How about when you want to just go to sleep? You know. So that voice is definitely there. Now, he goes on to say that there is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. And eventually you will see that the real cause of the problems is not life itself. It's the commotion the mind makes about life that really causes the problems. Whew. And isn't it interesting? Because I know we're shaking our heads and we get this, right? But we forget. And we just get caught up in this craziness of the mind sometimes. I mean, and it's constant. It's incessant. It's always there. I've been working especially with this for the last couple of weeks, and I'm just amazed how much this mind likes to talk. It's so crazy. So he says the best way to free yourself from this inner chatter is to step back and to begin viewing it objectively. So he calls this our inner roommate. Your inner roommate. And here's what he says. It never stops talking, and it oftentimes gives you seriously bad advice. You get story after story from your inner critic. So what is it that your inner voice says to you most often? You know, have you really stopped to think about what is going on in this mind of mine? What is my mind saying on a regular basis? Because whatever your mind is saying, that's what you really believe. And that's why we talk so much about, you know, the power of the mind and shifting our consciousness and using the tools that we talk about using. Because here's the thing. Without realizing it, we have taken on the voices of people all around us from the time that we were born, right? And so we've taken on these voices, and we've taken them on generally unconsciously. And we've taken these voices in, and we've just made agreement with them because we didn't know differently, did we? So also recognize that the media is constantly telling us what we need to do, be, or have in order to be happy, in order to be happier, in order to feel more fulfilled. How about they even tell us what we need to do to be able to attract the right male or the right female in our lives? You know, if you wear this expensive cologne, you know, or they say things, or we have the TV ads with all the anti-aging products, or with the new sexiest sports car, or with whatever. We're constantly being bombarded, and we're being told, if only you had this, then you would be happier and more fulfilled, and you would have the life that we're showing on this commercial. Do you just crack up sometimes at those commercials? Like, look at that. All I had to do was get that perfume, and life would be glorious. I mean, it's amazing, though. I mean, and they're good at that. That's their job, is to really get into our psyche and tell us, you need these things in order to be okay. You need these things in order to be fulfilled, in order to be accepted, in order to fit in, how about, in your life. You need these things. And because of these voices that have come into us, if we are not awake and aware, our meaning-making machine minds start telling us things like, yeah, you know, look at that. I'm not enough. I'm never going to look like that. I can't afford that. I'm never going to be able to attract somebody into my life. My life is never going to be good because of this, and this. Well, here's the thing about once we start going down that road, our minds start creating separation. And in separation, we start looking at people and saying, oh, they're better than me. Or we start looking at people and saying, oh, they're losers. They're not good enough. And once we create separation, we set up this cycle of comparing, where we make someone or something better than or less than. It's both ways, someone or something else. And with comparison, and here's the scary part, comes unrighteous judgment. And unrighteous judgment, my friends, that's the judgment that we don't have all the facts. And I'm going to tell you something, we never have all the facts. We never have all the facts. And have you ever had the experience where you woke up in the middle of the night, or you're driving down the road and something's going on with somebody in your life, and man, you have an all-out, lay it out on the line discussion in your head? Or you might even be saying it out loud. And I thought at times, and most of the times, those discussions are not based on truth. They're just based on my perception of something. And they're not based on that greater truth. And trying to prove my point. Anybody try to prove your point? It's really good. You can prove your point really good when there's nobody there, can't you? It's amazing. You're like, I'm right. There's nobody here telling me I'm not right. Okay, so that's our inner roommate. And we haven't kicked it out yet. But our inner roommate will also give us conflicting advice. Let's just say that I've, been looking for this new job, and I get this offer, and I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. I'm going to step into this new opportunity. And, I know it's scary. I know I have to step out there, but I trust that, the universe has my back and everything's going to be good. And yes, this feels so good to me. And then before we know it, here comes our inner roommate. And our inner roommate is saying, are you crazy? You have a job right now that's secure. You may not really like the environment or anything, but and you don't get paid well, but it's a secure position. Anybody ever get that conflicting advice from your inner roommate? Yes, absolutely. And here's what he says. If we had a roommate, literally had a roommate that talked incessantly, noticing and commenting on everything, complaining, judging, criticizing us, how long would we let that roommate stay? Would you? Absolutely not. And he says, yet we have a roommate that just does just that, but we are so used to it that we hardly recognize that it's there. So meet your roommate by sitting in silence for a while. We get about 2 minutes of silence here on Sunday morning. How much silence are you experiencing? Or even, I love, because even like either Paul or Dee, they're taking us through the, relax your body, close your eyes, taking that deep breath. And I let it out before he says to even let it out. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm doing it wrong. I let it out before he let, and I hear other people who let it out at the right time behind me. And, then like do your head and notice if there's anything. And then it's like, oh yeah, the little pain in my back. Oh yeah, I wonder, anybody else feels this? I'm sitting there, okay. And like your inner roommate is constantly talking, isn't it? Go into the silence. So I'm conscious of this morning, you guys. I'm conscious. I'm sitting here. Our 2 minutes of silence. And boom, comes up. Oh, that's right. John's part of this play that we're going to on Friday night. And it's the Matthew Shepard play, and Paul and I are going to go, but my 12-year-old grandson, we have to pick him up that day. I wonder if I could get another ticket or not. There could be one. And there I am in the silence, talking. Anybody else have a roommate in the silence that you can remember? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so and here's what I've always said is, what are you thinking about when you're not thinking about what it is you're thinking about? Yeah, what are you thinking about when you're not thinking about what's going on in here? And the idea is wake up and become aware of it. Wake up and become aware of it. Because here's the thing, unless we've really worked this, and I have to say I've really worked it and I still go down that road, but the stuff that's in there, if we haven't shifted it, it's not necessarily gonna support the life that we want to experience. It's not necessarily going to support the person that we are desiring to be. So we want to wake up and become clear on that. He says, basically, you're not alone in there. There are two distinct aspects of your inner being. The first is you, your awareness, the witness, the center of your well intentions, and the other is that which you watch. The problem is the part of you that never shuts up. If you could get rid of that part, even for a moment, the peace and serenity would be the nicest vacation you've ever had. And he said, imagine what it would be like if you didn't have to bring this inner roommate with you everywhere that you go. And that real spiritual growth is really about getting out of this predicament. But first, we have to recognize that we've been locked in this mind of ours with a maniac, is what he says. So we spend time being the observer. And this is really the big homework for this week, is spend time being the observer. And here's the thing I'm going to tell you, it is going to crack you up. It's going to shock you. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times this week that like I've zipped down a road and then all of a sudden gone, oh my gosh, that's it right there. I totally went down this whole road. Like, okay, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Awareness, awake and aware is the key. It's the key to everything, but it's definitely the key to this. He says, if you want to free yourself, you must first become conscious enough to understand your predicament. Then you must commit yourself to the work of the inner freedom. You do this as though your life depended upon it, because it does. As it is right now, your life is not your own. It belongs to your inner roommate, your psyche. You have to take it back. Stand firm in the seat of the witness and release the hold that the habitual mind has on you. This is your life, and reclaim it. So I'm going to share with you this little short story. And I thought, is this really appropriate for today? But it is for hearing it. And it was actually this man that Paul and I met this past week. And he has an 18-year-old daughter. He has 4 grown kids, but he has an 18-and-a-half-year-old daughter that at the age of 3.5 was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And when they took her to the hospital, they told them that she literally had cancer from her kidneys, clear through her lungs. She probably would not live through the night. And so after the doctor went out, this little 3-year-old looks up at her dad and says, Daddy, am I going to die? And he just looked at her and he said, first I have to tell you, I didn't necessarily believe this, but I wanted to give this to my child. I said, no. You know what? In the Bible, it says that if you pray and you believe that in your prayer that it will happen for you. And so let's pray. So they prayed together. And she was in so much pain, and she wanted to be out of pain. And so they prayed together for her healing and for her to be free of pain. And for some reason, he had to leave for a little while. And when he came back, he said she looked visibly different. And when he came in the room, and he's like, Daddy, I don't have any pain. And when the doctors came in the next day, they were shocked not only that she was still alive, but that her vitals were getting better. She did have to go to St. Jude's, and she knew that she would be being poked and prodded, and she was very scared about this. And so the dad again just said, honey, in the Bible it says that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-discipline. So we're going to pray that you have that spirit, where you have that spirit of power and you're not afraid. And he said she went in to that hospital and was just like open and not afraid and let them do whatever they wanted to do to her. She's 18 years old now. And it's like this miracle, But the thing that we talked about was that faith of a child that hasn't been pre-programmed with doubts. And I thought, my goodness, here was this dad giving her inner roommate directions. And she took it and she held on to it. And I think that is such an appropriate story for today, because that's us, you guys. We're the parents of these crazy thoughts. We are. And we're the ones that have to tell him, get out. You can't take residence here. And then we bring in the divine ideas. And we repeat those divine ideas over and over. That's why in Unity we talk about denials and affirmations. That's why we talk about having a vision. Because this is what reprograms our consciousness. But we have to stay awake and aware enough that when something opposite comes up, instead of going down the rabbit hole, we catch it before it gets there and go, you have no space here. Get out. I tell you, get out. Like, if you have to be mean, get out. If you had a roommate like that, you'd be like, get out. Or you can be loving and kind, whatever you want to do, you know. I lovingly invite you to leave. I want to share with you the words from a song by Karen Drucker, and it's called Taming My Inner Critic. And it just, because this song to me just speaks to, you know, what this is about. So it's her thing of her inner critic. She says she howls, she bites. She wants to take me down with all of her might. She snarls, she growls, but I'm ready to put up a fight. I've been in therapy for 100 years, and there's a peace that I finally found. I let go of so many fears that she is not going to kick me around. I'm taming my inner critic. You're not welcome here anymore. I'm taming my inner critic. Allow me to kick you out the door. She kvetches, she complains, her demands make me feel so insane. Every detail of my life is analyzed and sliced up with her knife. But I am woman, just watch me roar with a force that she can't ignore. Every positive word I say gives me the power to chase her away. And it goes on with the inner critic saying things like, you know you're not very smart, don't even try, you're gonna fail. And I say, I am enough. She says, you shouldn't eat that donut, are you gaining weight? Is that another wrinkle? And I say, I'm beautiful. She says, you know, you're not really good or talented. Why don't you just play it safe? And I say, I am worthy. I say, get off, get back. It's time to claim this life as mine. And so that's what this week is about. This is the start of this 7-week journey together. Next week, we're going to talk about how we can use the energy of our heart to find our center, how we can literally work with this, and it's amazing that using the heart math techniques. But this week, your homework, number 1, wake up and become aware. And number 2, when that inner critic, that inner voice is coming in, tell it to hit the road. What are you going to tell it? Get out, all right. And I say to you, namaste, namaste. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. So our ushers are getting ready to come forward, and we have this opportunity to support Unity of Springfield. There's so many ways that you can support it through Venmo, download the Tithely app online at unityofspringfield.org, or cash or checks. So as our ushers do come forward, I invite you to take the energy, because I know I give mine online, or take what you're giving, and let's bless it together with our gift blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.